surprisingly resilient, and the economy added a robust 263,000 jobs already. A lot of jobs being created, and that means more stimulus. Now, this is just above the half-century low that was tied earlier this year, although major tech and media companies, including Amazon and Twitter, have laid off thousands of workers. Initial jobless claims remain low, and new numbers published this week show for the first time that applications for unemployment benefits edged up at 225,000. That's still low historically and almost exactly where jobless claims were a year ago. Economists have told CNN that there's a reason to be optimistic about the economy, and that it could skirt into a recession. Without mass layoffs, it's unlikely consumers will stop spending and the economy suffer a downturn. The cost of living is just still way too high. We all agree on that, everybody. You guys agree with that the cost of living is too high? If you do, tell me in the comments, because the rate of inflation appears to have peaked. Consumer prices soared by 7% over a year in November. At almost any other point in the past 40 years, that would be very high. But this marked the 5th straight month of improvement and a significant cool down from 9% in June. It's also the lowest annual inflation rate in nearly a year. After spiking $5 a gallon for the first time ever in June, gas prices have plunged again, and the national average for regular gas recently declined to $3.10 a gallon. That's an 18-month low. By the way, how you guys doing on gas? Do you think President Biden should do better on this and lower the gas prices? Is it still too expensive for you guys? Tell me in the comments. And continue watching because gas prices are expected to climb again this spring and summer. For now, at least, experts are now forecasting a return to $5 a gallon. For much of the past year, wages have been hot inflation, but that means stimulus checks should be sent out faster, right? The Fed's warning of inflation, and it's the reason the risk of a recession is significant. Central bank is effectively slamming the brakes on the economy. The spike in borrowing costs has already set off a deep slump in the housing market, and the fears that the Fed will eventually overdo it, raising interest rates so high and keeping them there for so long that it causes a recession. Fed officials have been signaled that they could be ready to pause their inflation-fighting payments and campaign in the late winter or early in the spring. Jerome Powell has made it clear that the Fed isn't even anywhere near ready to hit the economy. So, South Carolina taxpayers are set to receive a rebate worth $800 very soon. And all taxpayers who file their tax forms by the October 17th deadline are eligible and should be able to get the stimulus in the next couple of days. She told the Wall Street Journal, "I respect Kirsten Sinema and what her concerns may be, but I think basically our financial situation is getting worse and not better. So we better have a better way of looking at it. So that there are many ways to pay for such ideas that do not include tax rate increases that could hurt small businesses and our economic competitiveness while we continue to emerge from a crisis and economic downturn." Senator Kirsten Sinema's opposition to tax rates have already prompted Democrats to scramble for new ways to finance their plans, and also to expand healthcare, childcare, and education. So far, Manchin has said he backs hiking the corporate tax rate to 25% as part of a future spending bill. So what are your thoughts on this? Will John Manchin get it done? And the different changes, demands from both senators underscore the difficulty and tricky path ahead for Democrats trying to move forward with President Biden's spending bill. Manchin has already said that he would like to see changes made to the version of the bill that was passed in the House of Representatives. Because on the way, new pavements are being approved, and now lawmakers are in several states and have just announced a brand new plan, and this brand new plan will directly help the low income. Congress is already working on allocating unspent crisis funds towards new relief. And now, Republicans and the White House negotiators agreed to claw back approximately $27 billion in funding to the federal agencies intended to combat the crisis. And pulling back funds that have already been appropriated is what's known as a recession, based on a document being circulated by the White House to Democrats. These recessions should not be focused on funds that had not been spent by agencies on their respective crisis-era programs. But unspent crisis dollars have long been a target for Republicans, who question the administration's request for more funds, arguing the nearly $5 trillion spent on crisis relief was excessive and also helped drive inflation. Some of these programs are largely concluded, and others will only see partial recessions, while others were taken because there are no immediate demands. Even the White House budget director was a key negotiator on the deal. The appropriators will use some of that money to spread around how they see fit and individual line items to bill. In other words, these unused crisis funds will be distributed by Congress during this year in budget process to other parts of the federal budget, reducing overall government spending. But as recently as late last year, the White House has asked Congress for an additional $10 billion in crisis funds. The money never came through, and now the administration has agreed to give $27 billion back, including a significant portion of what remained in the fund for emergency preparedness and response. States are in the process of allocating money towards new programs. A guaranteed income program in Wisconsin issued its latest payment worth $500. The payments are put forward every single month, and a lot of people receive them and receive the money they need. And the program as a whole will be the last one for one more year. This first payment was issued in September, and the final payment will be sent in August. But even a household of two, for example, can make more than $36,000 and get the payments every single month. Now, some governors are backing a one-time tax rebate to put as much as $800 in the pockets of the American people. And the governor told reporters a paycheck does not go as far as it did 2 years ago, and I'm working to give nearly $1 billion back to the hands of hard-working, tax-paying Alabama residents. Folks, time is running out. Kevin McCarthy is now being faced with a big decision. This event could affect the millions of Americans and their finances. Some lawmakers want even Congress to pass a made to programs like Social Security, a bill to help everyone out. House Speaker McCarthy will put his control of the thin Republican majority on the line this week with a bid to pass a bill that slashes spending that is designed to jam with President Biden over the looming government debt crisis. The standoff is deepening between the Republican Speaker and the Democratic President, which could be fateful for the country in both their political careers, and the ability of each side to unify their parties and shape public opinion to avoid or dispense blame will be crucial. The clash is over the need to raise the government's borrowing authority within months, without which the United States would default on its debts in a way that could send the domestic and global economies spiraling and could inflict deep pain. Republicans are seeking to use the situation as leverage to stop Biden's domestic program. The president, as he moves toward making his re-election campaign official as early as this week, says the GOP must not hold the nation hostage to what he says is an extreme agenda. The debt ceiling showdown is important to Biden, as he seeks to protect the legislative achievements of his term so far, and to portray an image of strength and purpose. McCarthy is seeking to unite his party around him to pass a bill that will raise debt ceiling for a year in exchange for deep spending cuts. The measure would limit growth in government spending to 1% a year, block student loan forgiveness, resigned new funding for the IRS, and introduce tougher work requirements for Medicaid. Even if it makes it out of the House, there's no chance this will pass. The approach is meant to make it look like the public and Biden is being obstructive and should hold the blame for any debt default. The White House has said it won't negotiate over a debt ceiling increase, which is Congress's responsibility, and will only accept a clean proposal to raise the nation's borrowing limit. But the Speaker on Sunday was adamant that Biden will have to climb down from the position as the country races closer to a crisis that could peak during the summer. Even recently, the Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri introduced the Keep Our Promises Act to exempt Social Security and Medicare from the debt ceiling. Social Security and Medicare beneficiaries must be confident that their benefits will be paid in full and on time. Senator Hawley's legislation will ensure these programs are never used as leverage in negotiations over the debt limit. Senator Hawley has said in an official statement, Social Security and Medicare are not bargaining chips. These are promises we made to the people, and we must not break them. The Keep Our Promises Act would first exempt Social Security and Medicare from the statutory debt limit.